Hello, this is Marion Davenport with the League of Women Voters of Portland, and you are watching our Video Voters Guide or listening to our podcast. We're here today to talk to candidates running in the November 5th, 2024 general election. We are grateful for the support of the Carol and Velma Sailing Foundation, the League of Women Voters of Portland Education Fund, the Weiss Foundation, and our media partner, Metro East Community Media. With me today is Chad Lykins, who's running for City of Portland Councilor, District 4, which includes Portland west of the Willamette River, plus a portion of southeast Portland. Welcome, Mr. Lykins.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're running for this office.
Sure thing. I'm really excited to be here. I've been knocking so many doors, maybe 8,000 doors so far on the campaign trail. And multiple times people have said that this is going to be their main source of information, the League of Women Voters Guide. So I'm glad to be part of it. The issues that are facing Portland today are issues that I have a lot of personal experience with and professional experience. I was born to teenage parents, and my mom suffered from addiction and mental health issues from a really early age, which meant that I grew up knowing what it's like to have somebody that you love that you don't know how to help, and knowing what it's like to not feel safe in a place that you would always assume would be kind of a place of comfort. When I finally got out of that house, I was able to go to Vanderbilt to get a PhD in leadership and policy because I wanted to learn how to help families like mine. I studied all the things that affect a kid's life trajectory that happen outside of the school day, and went overseas, worked at the University of Hong Kong on out-of-school learning, trained researchers from all over the world. And when I came to Portland, I saw a need here to help kids with things that happen after school. So I started an academy called Rose City Chess. It grew from my kids' school and expanded to 20 locations all over this district. We've got hundreds and hundreds of families that have been part of our after-school clubs and camps. And when we had this charter reform happened, I realized that this was an opportunity for me to be a champion for the families that I serve at City Hall. Folks that represent big companies, they have plenty of people championing what they need at City Hall, but we haven't had somebody really speak up for families here. So that's what I'm doing.
Thank you. Tell me what your ideas are for working productively with the other council members in your district.
I first off want to say that there are something like 29 other candidates running, and many of them are really terrific and bring different experiences and skills. I think one of the first things is making sure that the way we're campaigning represents the way that we want to work together. And that means no surprises, no dirty attacks, either through ourselves or from one of these groups that comes in from outside to try to do our best to rein them in. Once we're on city council, we're going to have a committee structure, and each committee will look over a service area. So when it comes to constituent services, it makes sense to me to, as best we can, align our calls for services with the committees that we're already serving on. And that would be sort of the first line there.
You're listening to the Video Voters Guide interview and podcast with Chad Lykins, running for City of Portland Councilor, District 4. What, if any, actions would you consider taking to address the current concerns related to the critical energy infrastructure hub on the Willamette River?
Yeah, this is a huge issue. We have over 600 tanks full of highly flammable chemicals. They are between our twin jewels of the Willamette River and Forest Park, and they're on highly liquefiable soil so that when an earthquake happens, they will slide into the river and could possibly combust and lead to the largest ecological disaster that our country has ever seen. We need, on the short term, to engage in seismic retrofitting to make sure that those are stable. We also need to make sure that the companies that are profiting off of these aren't just internalizing all profits and externalizing all risk. So that means some kind of risk bonding needs to be required of them to make sure that they're responsible. And in the long term, we know that this has to be relocated and downsized. Doing that is really hard right now because we don't have answers to two critical questions. The first is how much would that cost? And the second is where else could that go without just passing all of this risk on to another community?
Moving on, are you satisfied with the performance of the Joint Office of Homeless Services? And if not, what changes would you support?
I don't think I'm satisfied, and I won't be satisfied until every person in Portland has shelter and services that they need. And I think that Dan Fields would say the same thing. They are definitely making progress, and I'm encouraged. I do believe that it is a partnership that can succeed, and that the city should come to it and work with the county in good faith. Part of that is the city stepping up and taking responsibility for siting and permitting more shelter sites that actually have evidence for working, like our safe rest villages and our motel shelter conversions. We know that if we invest in those, we can move people to permanent housing at 4 times the rate or even more than congregate shelter.
What skills, experiences, and interests distinguish you from the other candidates for this position?
Um, I think that the first priority is definitely going to be some policy experience. I have a PhD in leadership and policy and have trained policymakers from all over the world on how to use research to make good policy. The second big qualification would be constituent services. That's a big part of being a city councilor or a local office holder. I'm one of the very few people in this district that's run a small business where I interact with people on a daily basis. I'm inside our schools, our public schools all over the district, and work with a lot of families. And the third big quality is being able to put together a team even when you don't agree on everything and get stuff done. I'm very proud to be supported by elected leaders at every level of office, from former Governor Kulongoski to state representatives like Dacia Graber and Mark Gamba and Tweed Tran to 4 different Metro councilors. I think that we can put together a coalition and align all the different jurisdictions to get stuff done.
Thank you, Mr. Lykins. This concludes our Video Voters Guide and podcast interview with Chad Lykins, running for City of Portland Councilor, District 4. Election Day is Tuesday, November 5th. Be sure to inform yourself about the candidates and exercise your right to vote. Thank you.